Marty Fit.
What's up, Keith?
We're doing grit today, pal. We are doing grit first thing in the morning on a Tuesday. It's legs day for me, pal. And it's all about grit, buddy.
I did legs yesterday.
Oh, you crushed. Well, you know what? We're not here to one up each other, Marty. But I know we were here to do grit today. So you know what I did this morning before we jumped into the lab? Dude, I went and crushed a HIIT class.
Okay.
I did a 45-minute pro cycling HIIT class, man. I crushed a HIIT class. I did a 45-minute HIIT. I did 1 minute hard, 1 minute break, 2 minute hard, 2 minute break, 3 minute hard, 3 minute break for 45 minutes, man. I cycled against 6,200 pro cyclists, buddy. I came in 2,900th.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah.
You think you were one of the oldest? Sorry, man.
What?
I had to get you back because you just got me before the show, so I had to get you back.
Dude, two sentences into the show.
Keith was making jokes before the show. He made a joke, so I told him I'm going to get him back. I didn't say on air, but I had to get him back.
2 sentences in the show is already throwing me under the bus. What the hell is going on here, nation? I know why. Because Maurice isn't here, the OGG.
The OGG's not here. So you got the OG.
Yeah. But I'm suspecting Mo might be listening. So the OGG, yeah, I got you on here today. So Marty's just chucking zingers here today. Hey, Marty, in a few minutes, we got Mike McQuinland joining us here to talk grit. But you know what? I see something in my comments here. I'm suspecting there's somebody jumping in here to chat with us today.
Is it the future?
It might be the future. Let's have a look here. It's the future. It is Enzo. Here, this is going to be the future sound effects, Marty. What's up, Enzo? It's late when YouTube tells you it's bedtime. Enzo's in the lab. How are you today? I'm doing pretty spectacular. Good morning, Sarvina, joining us from Winnipeg. Hey, Marty, Sarvina's the great cook I talk about.
Yeah, I know. I need some of that food.
Yeah. Well, when we get you here, we're going to get
Sarvina. I didn't forget. So when I'm there, don't go ghost when I come to Canada. Like, she's not picking up the phone. Where's Sarvina?
Oh, there you go. How you doing today? Future? What's going on over there in New Zealand? Marty, how are you doing today? Cooking before we're drinking. Mike, I know you and I were working late last night in the lab. I appreciate all that effort we put in. I guess you probably called it a night and got up and got at it again this morning, I'm thinking, eh?
That's what I do. It's like a machine, man. You
gotta lost you. Sometimes. Oh, no, hold on. There we go. My button. Myself.
You got to be a machine sometimes, man.
Got to be a machine sometimes. Yeah, you are a machine. You are absolutely a machine. So,
you know what kind of machine?
Oh no, I don't know what kind of machine.
A grip machine.
Oh, here we go. We're gonna just go. There we go.
There you go.
That's it. Hey, we got a big week, man. You know, it's the month of what, Marty?
It's like it's January.
It's January, like brother. We own January. Keith and C. Marty Fit own January. So, nation, for the rest of your lives, Marty. You know how the cancer world took on November and made it. Yeah, I hear you, Marty. Can you jack your volume up a little bit? I'm having a hard time with your audio here, and I'm going to try to jack it up on my end here. Can you jack yours up too?
Yeah, I can do that.
There we go. Yeah. So thanks, Melissa. We got Melissa listening in here, and
thanks, Melissa. There
we go. Awesome. That's much better, pal. Thank you very much. What was I asking you here? What was I asking you? Whatever. We're back to Enzo. He had a conference yesterday. Could potentially get picked to go to. Oh, Marty. Enzo might be going to Antarctica from a select group of people from the conference, which would be pretty sick.
Enzo, safe out there, man.
Enzo, you get to Antarctica, don't fall off the edge of the earth.
Yeah, I hear some crazy. I got my TikTok feed has like all these crazy science stories, and I just see like the craziest stuff about Antarctica. So
I was supposed to go to Antarctica a few years ago. Then something happened called the pandemic.
Oh wow!
Kind of put that plan on hold.
Yeah, kind of makes sense.
just full of sound effects today. So, hey, we're talking January. It's the month of January, and I'm focused on creating sound bites for our content, Marty. So we're going to talk in sound bite segments here, 1 minute at a time, because our pro software that makes all this content at the end is so awesome. I'm just making no sense right now. But anyway, so January, we're coming up with content to help you guys get through the month. Content to help you guys achieve those goals. Content to make you reflect on what you didn't achieve in January.
I got a sound effect for that, but I can't play it.
Nope.
I can play that one.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I can play that one.
So we are in the month of January. We are 11 days into January. We have the creator, the athlete, and then the AI. It's a course that will help you improve your athletic skills, your business skills, and your AI skills. It's a holistic program to help you move forward in life. Come knock on our door. Come check it out. We're in the early stages of it. We're just baking it. So if you're getting into it now, you're going to get into it pretty early. You're going to probably get a deal from us, and it's going to probably be pretty cool and pretty sexy. So would invite you guys to check that out for the month of January. But Marty, why don't we invite our guest in? Let's bring McQuinlan in. He's sitting somewhere, I think, in Lima, Peru.
Oh, wow.
You been to Peru before?
No. I hear good things, though. I hear it's good food. Great
food in Peru. Dude, is that all you talk about is food?
Yes. That's it. All I do.
We're going to do a food show with C. Marty Fit. That could be pretty good, actually.
I think it'll be good. Bring a chef on here.
Oh, dude. It could be called From the Gym to the Fridge with C. Marty Fit.
Yeah, let's do it.
From the gym to the kitchen with C. Marty Fit. That could be it really good. That could be it really good, actually. Jimmy, is Marty's audio getting better? I see your message there, Jimmy. So just comment on that. I'm going to jack it up too on this side. But let's bring in Mike McQuinland from Lima, Peru. Oh, Mike's like, they're going to call me on camera now. So I guess I better get my head up on stage. Mike McQuinland, how are you, man?
Oh, and we are live. Everything but the theme music. Thanks a lot, Keith. And hey, Mr. C. Marty Fit, how are you?
I'm amazing. How you doing, Mike?
Beautiful day here in Lima. It's real January because it's winter time. So I get the real January here. Like, I got my day started off great. Yeah, the sun comes up at 5 o'clock in the morning up there in Winnipeg. You're like, oh, yeah, I got my day started. Try it here in Lima. It's still dark out and freezing.
Mike joins us from Lima. Before we get into it, hey, Marty. Oh, Sarvina's offering to cook for you, man. So you're already on the list. Hey, Mike, if you meet Sarvina, she might cook for you too.
Let's go.
My wife would kill both of us, but
Hey, Sarvino was at my house a couple weeks ago, Mike, and she cooked some awesome dala for us, man. She was just cooking up a storm, and
I heard you talking Indian food. Yeah.
Yes.
Now I'd rather talk grit and determination, but you got me hungry, Keith. You got me motivated talking about the HIIT class. I got myself a 15-minute routine in, and now I'm like really hungry. But all right, we'll get the grit and persevere through this.
Yes.
You're talking Peruvian food. The only time I have a bad meal in this country is when I cook it myself.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I couldn't be out there, man. I'd be eating nonstop all day. I love Peruvian food.
Marty would be the feature of his show he did a couple nights ago, which was a 300-pound reset, starring C. Marty Fit.
Yeah, I'd be starting to reset. I'd be one of the people that can't reset.
So, Mike, before we get into grit and determination, and listen, I knocked on your door. You have been an incredible guest, man. First of all, from behalf of C. Marty and myself, I want to appreciate your support. As you know, we're trying to create the biggest talk show here on LinkedIn, YouTube, the biggest global conversation. And obviously, we can't just do it amongst ourselves. After a while, Keith and C. Marty talking amongst ourselves is only going to go so far. So we need to do it with great guests, informative humans, people like The Future joining the show, people like Sarvina, people like Chris Bacon joining us from somewhere on the planet. Thanks, Chris, for shaking, brother. And of course, people like yourself, Mike, who jumps in, who joins in, who contributes to the show along the way. So kind and grateful for that. So thank you. So before we get into grit, and before we get into the accountability check-in, the C. Marty Fit tip, and our creator spotlight, let's get into this significant question, C. Marty, which is, who's Mike McQuinlan?
An entire bio. Well, here we go. Believe it or not, I'm not really Peruvian.
No.
How about that? About
I didn't
what was
think
it?
you were, brother.
All right, saludos, suelta el listón de tu pelo. That's a Mexican group. I come originally from the mean streets of Massapequa, New York, Long Island. My parents are from Brooklyn. They made the move out to the promised land of the suburbs, and I'm not a suburban guy. No gripe with where I come from. I just know that where I come from is the biggest small town in the world. And you're either in or you're out. And if you're in, you're going to be there forever. You're going to buy a house on the block that you grew up in. You're going to marry somebody you grew up with. You're probably going to teach in the same school that you went to. Your world, and I respect that if that's your thing, but my thing is somewhere else. I joined the Marines after high school. Never got to go overseas. I made it as far as the other promised land, which is the Mojave Desert. And from there, I moved out. I moved up to Alaska. So I actually flew right over your house, Keith, on the way to my other place. And now here I am in Lima, Peru. I gave you my entire biography, but that's the geography part of it, of where I've lived. I came down here to teach. Oh, I'm not wearing my wedding ring. Uh-oh. I think I got an extra one here. But I came down here to take a methodology course in teaching English as a foreign language. Never fell in love with being a student, but this all comes from the fitness world. I was working as a personal trainer. I got hired to teach a certification course at a career institute. And 1 minute in front of that classroom, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. In fact, the students told me, I didn't have to say it, just their looks said, Mike, I was an economics major, went to work in a bank. They said, Mike, you're not a banker, you're not a broker, you're a teacher. And I had been to Costa Rica for a semester, so I came here to take a methodology course. And while I was here, walking along the shores of Lake Titicaca, she found me. She almost drowned me in the lake. I ran as fast as I could. She tracked me down in New York, and we got married in New Orleans and came down here. We've been here 13 years, and life is good.
Wow. Marty.
No, that's a heck of a story. So you said you were training for a while. How long did you end up training? I'm just curious because of, my career, obviously. Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I do is so linear that has a beginning and an end. I've been ISSA certified since 2002. While I did that, I was working retail. I got my start in the fitness world at the bottom. After serving in the Marines and I was Sergeant McQuinlan, a year later, I'm hauling cardboard and I'm hauling treadmills upstairs into people's homes, delivering and installing exercise equipment. From there, I moved up to retail sales. And while I was doing retail sales, I got certified as a trainer. I was doing some freelance work as a personal trainer. But then I went back to college, so I put that on hiatus for a while. Get a few sessions in here and there. I joined the wrestling team. I was a college wrestler at age 28. Getting beat up by teenagers is not fun when you're the former Marine, but the grit and determination is one thing, but technical skills is another. So I had the grit, the determination to hang in with these guys. When I graduated, I went to work in a bank. Worst job I've ever had in my life. You'll want to talk about jobs that suck. I'll be on that episode too, Keith. But so I went back to the beginning, 1 hour at a time, one client at a time. And that was like a year and change. Then I got another job that went on for about 4 years. I've been freelancing, even at the Language Institute where I was teaching here before I did this full time. I was doing fitness classes there. So it's hard to put a number on how many years, but the answer is I've been certified 22 years. As long as I'm being recorded, I've been training actively for over 2 decades.
Oh, I like that. Training actively for over 2 decades. Mike McQuinlan joining us here in the show. We're coming up, gentlemen, at the... Oh, you know what that sound is, Marty? Yeah, it's time for the accountability check-in. Oh, it's the old dad moves. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Hey, guess what today, guys, nation? It's Tuesday, Legs Day. We're talking grit. And we're talking about this idea of the difference, Marty. And Marty, while I'm chatting here, if you wouldn't mind just checking out your audio, we still got some low audio on your side here. We got some feedback from the audience that your audio is a little lower than Mike's. So if you can jack up yours, that would be great. And while you're working on that, I'm going to check into the accountability check-in this morning, guys. And today, the difference is between dreamers and achievers. Between dreamers and achievers, well, it's showing up when quitting is easier. And Mike just alluded to that a few moments ago. And digging deeper when it gets tough. I'm a gentleman. I wasn't scheduled to do a HIIT class this morning, but I was like, you know what? The theme is grit. I'm just not really ready for it. I did a big run yesterday, Marty. You know how much I love running. I had a big long ride on the weekend, but I was like, you know what? In order for me to speak knowledgeably about today's discussion, I said to myself, no, I'm going to put myself through a scenario and I'm going to dig deeper. So it was this idea of going hard this morning, achieving an audacious goal that is difficult. That goal was, to rank pretty high amongst the pro cyclists this morning on my bike. Audacious goals, gentlemen, would not be audacious if they were easy. The journey, when you are trying to be an achiever instead of a dreamer, it's going to be full of ups and downs. There's going to be moments that you are going to want to stop, nation. You're getting your day going right now, 8:16 Eastern time, 7:16 in the Central time, 6:16 Pacific time as you're waking up. Go. Put the success in front of you and go. It's close, man. It is absolutely close. Tap into that inner strength. It's there. It's inside of you. Tap that inner grit that you wonder if you have. Keep pushing forward. Think of the words that Marty, you wake up to with Marty in the morning. Think of the words you wake up to when I put some comments into your head in the morning. I'm telling you right now, your future self will thank you. And I'm going to give you guys a tip. Marty and I were doing some work last night on budgeting and business. And the conversation we were having last night, nation, was as if it was January 2025. And we were speaking to ourselves in our future self as if the last year happened. You know why? Because we're achievers. We're not dreamers. So I encourage you, nation, get to work, put that grit in, become an achiever, and don't just be a dreamer. All right, that's it. Your accountability check-in, guys. Get going, man. It's grit. Grit is something that we just, it's a cliche word. It's something that, is, what's grit mean? What's grit mean? You know what it means? It just means putting the work in every single day. And when it gets going hard, you got to go harder. And that's just really what it's all about. You got to go harder when it gets tough. It's time to dig in harder. So, gents, why don't we shift our discussion to grit and what it means to battle through grit? And Mike, before I throw it to you, Marty, a couple comments from you on the accountability check-in, then I'll pivot over to you to throw it over to Mike to start a conversation on grit. Marty, grit to you.
Yeah, you gotta be a dreamer a little bit. And when you say dreamer, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, can y'all hear me? First of all, that's actually the first thing that came to mind. But
so you keep going. We got Nation. I'll get feedback from Nation. You keep going, and we'll go from there, pal.
Okay, all right, yeah. So when we talk about dreaming, the first thing that comes to mind is being a little bit delusional, right? Your goals and your dreams have to sound a little crazy to yourself and to the outsiders, especially the outsiders. So when you set the bar high, you're going to end up somewhere close to it when you put the work in. So that's one thing. Be a little delusional. Get crazy with your dreams. And put the work in. You're either going to hit it or you're going to be somewhere around there. You'll be satisfied with the result.
Mike, before I come to you, Marty, I want to stay with you for a second because as we continue to build the show and people get to know you, they're like, so who's Marty? So Marty's a D1 athlete. Marty just didn't have the world handed to him. Marty hasn't achieved something by just half-assing it. Pardon my language, through life. So Marty, as you are achieving your school goals, your professional goals, your business goals, with less brunches, more crunches, and so forth. Talk about grit from Christopher Martin, C. Marty Fitt's point of view. Talk about grit from mom and dad teaching you about grit, Marty. Get into, how you've been raised with the philosophy of grit, C. Marty Fitt.
Thankfully, I've always been the underdog. So I've never been just like the guy who got my position in basketball handed to him. I got to college, I had to fight to play. And even a lot of times when I deserved to play and I made it clear that I'm better than this person or I deserve it, still didn't get it handed to me. And then even, I got a chip on my shoulder in the fitness world. I see all these guys training celebrities and pro athletes, and I've had some stints where I've trained some notable people. But, I haven't had any A-list, and I see some of these trainers are trash, and they're training A-list guys, and they're getting that opportunity. I just haven't gotten that opportunity yet, but I know if that opportunity ever came, I would blow that client away and wow them. But it's just an underdog thing, and it's a blessing in disguise because it keeps me going. You're never going to see me get complacent, and you've seen that, Keith, how I show up and how I'm consistent, and how I work. But like I said, it's a blessing in disguise. So I'm actually thankful for it.
That's exceptional. I like how you've talked about underdog, because that certainly is a big part of being about grit, right? Hey, Chris, you're joining us from Ohio today. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you joining us from Ohio. Marty, we got some folks from Ohio joining in. Shout outs to Ohio.
Shout out Ohio.
Mike, Marty talked about being an underdog. And I think, when you and I were messaging yesterday, you said, Keith, I got a bunch of notes. I got a bunch of great things I want to talk about. Does the word underdog, Mike, come across your desk and come across your mind when you're thinking about grit? And what does that mean to you, Mike?
Great. Listening to see Marty fit, I understand the frustration. I would love to do an episode we talk about just frustrations in the fitness industry. It's an industry built on failure. I would say 80% of people who join gyms don't go. That is how the business makes money. You have a new pill, a new plan, a new potion because the last one didn't work. So it's all built on not working. When you seek to do right by people, they don't want that. Conventional wisdom, if you're the greatest, if you believe in greatness, you're going to be better than conventional wisdom. And these A-list celebrities, they want conventional wisdom. They want a thing that nobody else is doing. They want the gimmicks. So I would love to get on another episode to talk about frustrations in the fitness industry. We touch upon that a whole lot more.
I'm going to write that down. Yeah, I'm going to write that down.
Glad we're recording. Let me filibuster while Chris writes that down.
I'm gonna write that one down. I got to. That's good. That's good.
You got it. I think of it this way. You know what? The people that you're trying to win, are you trying to win over the masses? You're trying to win over the people who listen to Justin Bieber and eat chicken McNuggets and are watching some crappy sitcom because it gets good ratings. People, you want independent-minded people to believe in you. You're going to have to find success on the margins. And you're not going to get the volume because the volume doesn't understand how much you put into what you do.
All right. So hold on here, Quinlan. You said something that I might have to kind of address.
Yeah.
So did you
like
say
Justin Bieber?
Did you say people sit around and listen to Justin Bieber?
Not people used to. Baby.
I like Justin Bieber. Can I not? I'm going to confess on the air. I'm a Bieberite.
Baby, you get your Canadian citizen revoked if you don't listen to Bieber. I'm just saying, okay, how about this? New Kids on the Block, even they don't like their own music.
Oh, wow.
Today on the show, talking Bieberism and so forth, and New Kids on the Block and everything.
We're all over the place today.
Hey,
so the whole point being conventional wisdom. In the fitness world, people buy into the gimmicks more than they buy into what really works.
Oh, isn't that true? Okay, Mike. So then are you saying then that people want the quick hit? They don't want to put the grit in. They don't want to put the work in. I know Marty's answer, but is that what you're also saying, is that I'll take the Ozempic? I don't want to have grit. What the hell's with grit? I spell grit with Ozempic.
Well, I don't even know what that is because I don't live in a country that has that. But is that weight loss stuff that they're pushing now in the gyms?
Yes.
Is that okay? Here's the deal. Man, that's another can of worms. Obviously, if you can take a pill, exercise. Remember exercise in a bottle? That was a supplement they were selling. Remember that? Exercise in a bottle.
No, they sold that in Lima, Peru, not in Canada or in America.
It was in Alaska. It was in the lower 48. They dropped a few cans over in British Columbia. You missed it there, Hugh. So of course, obviously, we're looking for the quick fix, but also sometimes people are looking for gimmicks. They want to be a little bit different. I understand, but I've been through all the things. I've been through when ephedra was around. I've been through the ab zappers when people put on the belts and melt the fat away. I've seen these one gadget. You train one part of your body 6 minutes a day and your entire body will be shredded. And people go for that. So if it's a pill now, it doesn't surprise me. It breaks my heart, but it doesn't surprise me. It was supposed to be bringing exercise into the medical space. I had this conversation last year. He's like, yeah, he has a gym. I'm not going to say where, but affiliated with a major university. I'm sunsetting my gym, moving it into a bigger facility that's partnered up with the university hospital. Like, Chris, are you training in a hospital? Is that where you like to work out?
Not really, no.
So it's like, who's going to go there? It's like, well, this is to bring the influence of exercise into the medical space. So doctors prescribe more exercise and less medication. And I said, aren't you worried about pushback from big pharma? And it was an arrogance to him. Wouldn't even look at me. He's all, no. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I got these people. Just maybe a month ago, he did a webinar on, I believe it was Ozempic, that this medication, the doctors are bringing the medications into the gym. The arm wrestle's going the other way, like I said it would, because that's what it is. See, we got on my frustrations in the fitness industry, but that's what we're talking about. So the grit is not always going to be popular. And I'll say this, it's probably not easy to listen to this right now if you're listening, because either you're on the ball and you're waiting for your turn to say, oh, I have something to say about that, and you can't type fast enough because you're on your phone, or you're down in the dumps and things are not going well for you and you need tangible, practical guidance, and you're just hearing, go for it, you can do it. Grit is the cornerstone of it all, but you do need to build off with something practical. And while you're in that process of learning what is practical, you've got to have that determination, know that you got to break it before you can fix it.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Marty. How do you, to an employer right now listening to our show, to somebody who's considering hiring somebody or looking at character attributes of a human being, Marty, to you first, and then Mike, over to you second. How do you categorize grit? How do you meet with somebody and recognize whether they have the grit that you desire to contribute to your team to succeed? What does that mean to you when you're talking to somebody? Marty, what do they have to show you to know that this person has the grit that you need, that sandpaper on them? What does that mean to you, Marty?
Oh, obviously, that's super important, but I think you can figure that out just off a couple of questions, just off one convo. And I think, I mean, just as an example, when me and you had our first conversation, you realized we were on the same frequency, the same wavelength, right? And so I think just like, for instance, this morning, when I was training before the show, a lady comes in and she's been doing well. She's been consistent, but she comes in and the first thing she says is, I'm over it. I said, I'm over what? She's like, I'm over exercise. And that, just slick comments like that, like no grit at all. Nothing against her. I love her to death.
Yes.
But then I try to relate the conversation to something else. Like, hey, do you feel like going to work every day? No. So you have some form of grit because you show up every day because you need them bills paid, right? So sometimes I think it's not a matter of if people have it or not. I think they just don't apply it everywhere in their life. Some people don't have it at all. Some people that are lazy at work too. But some people, they go, like her, she goes hard at work, but she just needs to transfer that to the gym. So I think most people do have it. They just don't use it in certain areas of their lives.
Is it an attitude, Marty? From your point of view, is grit an attitude?
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. Kinda.
I agree with you.
You think so?
I absolutely agree with you. It's that old adage. Hey man, you played high level sports. You had enough coaches say to you, hey Marty, hey Mike, how you practice is how you play. If you can't practice properly, you're going to show up for the game and you're going to probably suck.
Exactly. But see, I was fortunate enough to be put in that situation where I didn't have a choice but to have grit.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they aren't put in a situation like that. Like Mike was in the Marines, Keith, you played hockey, you've done some high level business. So you've been in situations where you had to have grit. A lot of people, they just get to coast their whole lives and give half-ass effort, give 50% towards everything and still end up all right.
Yes. We'll come back to the question in a few moments, which is how do you achieve, how do you gain, how do you learn how to have grit? But before we go there, Mike, I want to repeat the same question to you. So an employer is listening right now and they're thinking, okay, I got to make a big hire today, or some people on my team that just aren't cutting it. What are some of the attributes that you're looking for as an employer at somebody who has or does not have grit? And then Mike, can you teach and can you learn how to have grit?
I always wonder that. I'm very blessed. I'm not a super gifted athlete. I've run 16 marathons, not on some kind of skill. Wow. That's just pure, not in a row, but that's a little self-effacing humor goes a long way. So yeah, I've run 16 marathons out of just pure determination. You want to stop, you want to quit. You've got to know, I always say, if you don't want to quit, it's not hard enough. You have to be tested. So I don't know if it could be taught, but it can be tested and tempered. And that's where when it comes to hiring, I'm not big on experience. I think experience is usually inflated and overrated. But anytime you see experience where you had to push through something you didn't want to do, a lot of the things I've achieved in life, especially going to college or going back to college, I didn't want to do it. And I did it, and I graduated with honors. That's one of those things where I didn't want to do it, but I did it, and I had been tempered. It took a long way. As for an interview, especially in the fitness world, because I've been on that side interviewing fitness trainers, one of the first questions I always ask is, tell me one misconception that you've had about fitness that has been cleared up through experience. Now, this is a little bit off the topic of grit, but it is there with honesty. If you can be honest with yourself that you don't know everything and you haven't always known everything, well, then I can believe you when you talk a big game and say, I've got determination. I'm really into it, man. It's so easy to BS somebody and give them sound bites. So that's one question I ask. Tell me one misconception you've had about fitness. If people say, oh, me, misconceptions? No, I already knew everything. Then you know whatever they tell you next about having determination, it's all a lie. But if they can confess and say, you know what, I used to believe this. I used to believe in spot reduction. If you do sit-ups, it'll make your belly fat go away. If you use a thigh master, make your leg fat go away. I used to believe in that. Yeah, exactly. Everybody believes it. If you're willing to confess, I used to believe this, but now that, then you can believe them when they talk about their determination. Then you can open the conversation. Now it's not question and answer anymore. Now let's just talk about things you've had to overcome. Because I've had this question on interviews. Have you ever had to overcome challenges? The only answer they want is yes. They don't want to hear the details.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the great misconceptions, I just got to chime this in. One of the great misconceptions about job interviews is the interviewer knows what the hell they're doing.
Isn't that true though? Right? Because there's that perception that they do. We assume they know what they're doing, but who's to say that they actually do? Yeah. I'll tell you, gentlemen, I will take, we're coming up to the halfway minute mark of the show, team. 32 minutes in here with Mike McQuinlan talking about grit, the art of grit, a key to overcoming challenges. You know, Mike, see, Marty, I will wrap my arms around any human being that has more grit than talent. I will take any human being that has more grit than skill. I will take any human being that has more grit than gloss, because to me, you can't take gloss and turn it into grit. But I can take grit and I can smooth the edges down to add some gloss. Now I have C. Marty Fit, who comes to the table with a bunch of grit, attitude, hard work ethic. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to smooth some of the edges out to kind of take him to the next level. That to me is what I look for in the human instead of the other way around. You look with somebody who is too polished, I think. They don't, and I'm not, I don't like the word they. Somebody who might just be too polished might not know what it takes to put the hard work in to achieve the results that grit requires. I don't know. That's why I go back to, I'm all about hard work over talent. I think hard work always wins over talent from my POV.
I want to add something, being a former athlete at the Division I level. And I didn't play at the highest level at Division I, but I had some guys on teams that could have played at the highest level, that could have played in the NBA, but because of their attitude or because of their lack of work ethic, they were down on mid-major with me. So, and I've seen guys get into it with coaches, get kicked off of the team, quit the team, walk out of practice. But if they had some level of grit, they probably could have worked their way back up to that highest level. And it's just very unfortunate. 6'8", 40-inch vertical, super talented. And now, what are you doing with your life? You got to explain to everyone why you didn't make it to the NBA. So grit definitely is more valuable than just talent and skill.
So, Marty, let's stay on this path then. And coming up in a few moments, we got the Creator Spotlight. And gentlemen, the person I'm focusing in the Creator Spotlight this morning is the ultimate in grit. And I'm just going to leave it there. I I was thinking about this last night, who I wanted to feature on the Creator Spotlight today, and this person coming up is the ultimate in grit. But staying on the conversation of grit, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Marty, you've referenced Kobe many times. Those elite athletes, Mike, are they equal talent, equal grit? And is that what sets them apart from just those super athletes that maybe don't have the grit to win the cup? Those great athletes, who's how many Super Bowls has Dan Marino won? None, right? He's one of the greatest football quarterbacks of all time, but maybe didn't have the grit to win the championship. Would that? And Mike, I saw you kind of pulling your hair out. Would that be the right analogy for me to use, or what?
I feel for Dan Marino. This obviously, I would say whatever it is, it's got to be an intangible. You want to compare Kobe and LeBron. LeBron, anybody who's been around said he's this. Even Shaq said he should be coaching. LeBron is all about the mind for the game, to pull out even at like 18, 19 years old, was able to zoom out and see the big picture. That, not to say he doesn't have an insane work ethic, but that's his intangible, is his vision. Kobe was pure determination. The stories of him, he was not. I heard a story. Who was it? Somebody on the Bulls. He was warming up, and Kobe was not leaving until he left. Just in the pregame warm-up.
Jay Williams.
Yes. Yeah, Jake Williams was telling this story. He's like just doing it, and Kobe's already out there, and Kobe's not leaving that court until Jake is done. And Kobe scored like 44 points that day. Kobe is all about an insane work ethic, and you only heard about it from other people. So whatever it is, it's got to be an intangible. But you talk about people with raw talent, you see people the minute they face adversity, they go away. I see it happen all the time. Can you handle the heartbreak? That's got to be up there for everybody. But besides that, the super elite athletes is something intangible that we don't know about.
Gentlemen, can you
Marty, go ahead. I wanted to add something to that. And Mike, you just made me think of something. You have a LeBron, there aren't too many guys that are 6'8", 260, jumping like LeBron, right? But if you look at Kobe, there's a lot of guys that 6'6", 40-inch vertical, just pure, like, before Kobe became Kobe, that his skill level, there were a lot of guys like Kobe you can compare to Kobe. So that just goes to show that his grit is what, separated him and what made him one of the greats. And so if you compare that to like the workforce, and I'm sure, Keith, you being in business, you probably dealt with this and seen it. You'll have people who had the same degree, all these master's degrees come in, all right? What's going to separate the person that these people that have the same degree is probably their work ethic and their grit. So, I look at Kobe as a perfect example for that. So I try to use that in the fitness world with me and other trainers.
Yeah. Marty, Mike, can you teach grit? Can you teach somebody to have grit, to learn how to have grit, to I see Marty, you shaking your head.
You know what teaches grit? You got to get smacked in the face.
Yeah.
If you never get smacked in the face, you're not going to learn it. So a human can't teach a human grit.
Mike, I see you nodding because I think you can relate to that, probably being in the Marines, kind of from where you've come from, right?
Sure. Obviously, good leadership will pull things out of people. I don't know if it's a very ethical experiment to test 5-year-olds. I think it's in development stage. We get to a certain point where it's kind of a fight or flight. I would say, it can be, I wouldn't say taught, but enabled and empowered, because I used to be very afraid of a lot of things. And it's something that if you did have that determination, when things go wrong, to go through, you have to know that you're going to get your heart broken and push through. And we use a lot of sports analogies. Sports analogies are easy. The weights are heavy, the hills are steep. Drago, everything he hits, he destroys. The obstacle is very tangible. It's not easy to overcome, but it's very easy to describe. But in life and in business, it's not slow and steady, but it's brisk and steady. And the challenges are not always so cut and dry and clearly defined. So it's a lot more work to find out if you have it or not.
That's an interesting metaphor you use, Mike, especially when it comes to business, right? Because it's not as clear and cut dried, right? It's okay. It's like we're in the middle of the second quarter, middle of the third quarter. Let's make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, put the extra time in. It's it's I like the sports analogies because I think they're very meaningful. Perhaps not as obvious in the business sense. I just don't think grit is spoken enough about in business. Right. I feel like business has gotten too soft. And listen, I'm the first person who's all about emotional health, mental health, Martin. I talk about it all the time. You got to be, to be physically strong, you got to be mentally strong. You got to be mentally strong, you got to be physically strong. They all work together. But where have we lost the conversation about grit? And that's why when I saw the topic kind of come up on our radar for Keith and C. Marty to bring it into the show, I was like, yeah, we're owning January because, this is a great topic for January. People start their year in January going, okay, I want to get my resolutions done. And then when it gets time to put the work in, gentlemen, this is what happens, right? They don't put the work in. And that's what that's what grit is. And that to me is what it's all about. You got to put the work in to have the success. And I don't know if it's talked enough about in business because it is a fluffy conceptual concept. But it's real in the real world.
If I may, there's a movement out there. There's so many things. First, we have it easy. We have it pretty good. We're in 3 different countries, kicking back on the internet. Luxury is a virtue these days. So we don't have to push the ox cart. We don't have to churn the butter and leaven the bread anymore. So we have a lot of conveniences. So it might not look like you're working hard. I would say a lot of the latest movement, your thought leaders, if I want to be a leader, I want to do a whole lot more than just think. But if you're going to, a lot of these mouthpieces, they're on stage in their shorts and sandals and pajamas, and they want to say, follow my system. It's another get rich quick, that you can get rich in your pajamas. And it's the image that people are putting out there, getting on stage saying, oh yeah, just do my system and we'll make it easy for you. And that's very attractive. So a lot of people are entering the solopreneur space with 2 negative virtues. One, they want the emphasis on themselves. It's all about me. We're more individualistic than ever. And the other is, I don't want to work for it. I want to follow your system. And we have these ready-made systems, that 4-hour work week and all these other things where get rich in your pajamas. And there's that's a virtue that's being sold. Like what was being sold in the fitness world forever, exercise in a bottle, the 10-minute workout, how to do it easy in fitness. We're seeing that in business now. We didn't hear that from Lee Iacocca. Oh, yeah, I go to work 2 hours a day. You didn't hear that from J. Douglas Edwards or from Jim Rohn. Oh, yeah, just do my system and 45 minutes a day, you'll be a billionaire by the end of the decade. You didn't hear that. But what used to be only in fitness, now we see it in business.
Yeah. We're here to talk grit here, guys. We're here in Business Athlete Nation talking grit here 43 minutes into the show. We're coming up on the last segment of the show here. And guys, here's the time, Marty, where I talk about our creator spotlight. And I'm going to pivot the dialogue. We're staying on grit. Mike, you sparkled through the conversation yesterday. I had a chat with somebody yesterday who was held captive for 1,775 days.
Oh, yeah. Jose.
You want to talk about grit? Check this out, gentlemen. I'm just going to play this here quickly for us. Let me do this here. And I'm going to do this. Check this out.
They opened the door and I had the opportunity to have a call with my wife. 1 minute call. 1 minute call, but when I heard her, she was telling me that they were fighting really hard to bring us back. So that really made me that boost of hope that, I needed to come back. So that, because I always say this, it's a situation where your mind is going all over the place. So it can be in the right or in the wrong way. And it's a choice. So I took the choice because I needed to come back to my family. So I took the choice.
I needed to come back to my family. Locked up for 1,775 days, C. Marty Fit. Jose Pereira was an executive with Citgo, was kidnapped by the Venezuelan government, was held captive for over 5 years in a Venezuelan prison. Today's creator spotlight, guys. I want to shine the light on Jose Pereira Rumyuk. This is a story, gentlemen, that I am not going to spend any time doing any justice to right now, except this. I invite you, Business Athlete Nation, go find my profile on LinkedIn. Go to YouTube, Keith in the Lab. Jose and I sat down for 45 minutes yesterday, and I'm very grateful, Mike, that you tuned in to listen. You want to hear about grit? My words will not do justice to the emotions that I felt when I sat listening to Jose yesterday. Being locked up for 1,775 days, frankly, for no reason, other than the fact that he was an American and there was political situations happening between the Venezuelan government and the American government. And he had to, guys, grind it out for 1,775 days. And you want to know what's worse, gentlemen? For the first year, he was in solitary confinement. Marty, not communicating with any human beings. And I'm very fortunate and grateful that, not only was I fortunate to hear Jose's story yesterday, he spoke about his wife and his family. Could you imagine the grit that they had to go through for 1,775 days, wondering if dad was coming home, if dad was alive, if dad was okay, if dad was going to survive? So if you're sitting here today and you're wondering, I don't know if I can do it. I'm walking into the gym. I got a HIIT class coming up, See Marty Fit. I'm walking into a big executive meeting today, Mike McQuinlan. You know what? Think about Jose. Locked up for 1,775 days, figuring out if he's going to live or die or make it to see his family again. That's mental grit. There's no skill there, guys. That is complete, pardon my language, freaking sandpaper right there. That's sandpapering yourself through your life to make sure you get through the next day. So this is an atypical, I would say, Marty, creator spotlight. But Mike, you heard the conversation yesterday. After I talked to Jose yesterday, it was more than clear, Marty, who I wanted to shine the light on today in the lab, which was Jose Angel Pereira Romaniuk from hero to villain. He's got a book dropping this Friday. Marty, we're going to have him back in the lab. I want to bring him back in the morning to chat with him. I want you to meet him. Mike, I know apparently you guys know each other.
I had a talk with Jose. He's like, his attitude is like, yeah, whatever, man. He's like, it was interesting. He told me about the experience when eventually the Citgo 6 all got put together and everything was a system and a routine. We had a food here. We had this here. And he talked about it. He got COVID. He had a heart attack while he was in there. He talked about it like he's like, Mr. Whatever. He's over it. He's back. And he hit the ground running. When he got back to work, it was something. It's great sense of humor, great attitude. Faith is another conversation, but this was something where it's what I'm talking about with, it's not this intense go, go, go like we do in sports, but it's a certain belief in yourself and belief in something greater than yourself. He believed in his family. He believed in his innocence, his reputation, all of that. And that's what I'm talking about. You've got to have that while you're implementing your mundane routine to survive and achieve at the same time. Talking to him, we didn't talk a whole lot about his experience in prison. He said, I'm a little tired of talking about being in prison. I want to talk about life being out. He was on CNN probably maybe a couple of weeks after he got out of prison. Anderson Cooper is just like, what was that like? The hell was that? What kind of interview? Keith, you crushed it. You kicked Anderson Cooper's behind in how to interview Jose Pereira. I'll say that much. But yeah, Jose, great guy, and he's going to be on. Get used to him. And it won't be the same conversation every time. This is great about him. He'll do so many interviews, so many talk shows. As long as the interviewer knows what he or she is doing, it won't be the same interview every time.
Well, what was exceptional about it, see, Marty and Mike, was that as we were talking, and Mike, I'm sure I'm hopeful that you were able to recognize this in our call yesterday, because I knew we were talking about grit today, but it was a very human level conversation yesterday. Marty, we talked about, did you hate the guards that were guarding you? Like, did you hate the guys that were holding you, that were holding you captive? Like, no, I didn't, because they're humans too. They have fears too, right? So it was a really human conversation, but it struck me that without his faith and without the idea of grit, that untangible, that willingness to survive at all costs, that willingness, Marty, to get to the basket at all costs, that's Jose. He's a human being that, many lights need to be shined upon for people to understand what grit is. Would you not agree, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's our creator spotlight today, guys. Jose Angel Pereira. I would invite you guys to check out From Villain to Hero. He's got a book coming out this Friday. I'm going to have him on the show here. A little different creator spotlight, admittedly, but a much deserved shining of the light today on Jose. So, all right, guys, we're coming to the back 5 minutes of the show. What a great chat on grit today. Mike, I want to throw it to you, and then Marty, I'll throw it to you to wrap it up. Mike, what's the message we want to leave business athlete LinkedIn Nation with around the concept of grit? What are some final words from you, pal?
All right. Well, I wrote a few things down. I want to make sure we get this. Number one, get your emotions in check before you make an important decision. This is an emotional roller coaster. There's going to be a time today when you want to give up. That's the time to recognize and say, nope, not now. Put it on hold. Your emotions will fail you. Get them in check before you make a decision.
I'm writing this down too.
You got it. Number two, start and end your day with positive affirmations. Where I am, it is 7:50 in the morning, and millions of people have already ruined their day by tuning into cable news and watching political propaganda, being interrupted by medication commercials for medications you don't need for diseases you don't have. So start and end your day with a positive affirmation, and this is a perfect example. The fact that you're watching, the fact that you're listening puts you ahead of a whole lot more people, and I wish you an incredible day today. And finally, the day that changes your life very well may be a day that you do not want to remember. And Jose Pereira is a great example of that. Something terrible might happen in the day that inspires you to make a change.
That's a powerful last statement you made. Would you mind saying that again?
The day that changes your life very well may be a day that you do not want to remember.
That's pretty powerful stuff. I haven't heard about it put that way. I'm a fan of that statement because you never know when it's coming, right?
Yes.
And referring back to Jose's story yesterday, he's sitting in a meeting. He's sitting in a boardroom meeting, just having a discussion like you and I are having right now, and it would be just like this door opening and somebody arresting me and taking me away.
Brutal.
That's exactly what happened to Jose. Marty.
He was in Venezuela?
Yeah, at a meeting. In a boardroom meeting, literally in a boardroom meeting, and all of a sudden the door opened up and they took him away.
Wow.
So that just fits Mike's comments, right? You never know what the day is going to bring, and you never know how that day is going to change your life.
Man.
Marty, final words from you today on grit, my friend, as we wrap it up our conversation today in the lab.
Yeah, I say the difficult moments define you. It's easy to be a great person, hard worker, positive when things are going well. But, one thing about grit, your grit's going to show up when those negative times come, those hard times come, and that's really going to define you. And I would say embrace those hard times too. Like, be thankful for it. Now, you're not going to be thankful for it while it's going on. But in the back of your mind, you can realize, like, hey, this is all going to be worth it. This is going to pay off eventually. So let me get through this. I'm going to be a better man or better woman on the other side of it, and life will be better. And I'm a spiritual person as well. So God is doing it for a reason.
I like that, Marty. I like that a lot. Gents, if you may, I'm going to take the last word and I'm going to throw it out to my son. Carter right now is on his way driving to school, and he's going to grind it out. He's in his last week of exams, Marty. He's got a big exam today, and he popped into the gym last night, we were meeting before you came to the lab last night, and Carter's like, Dad, I'll be driving to school around the 7:50 mark. I'm like, all right, man, I'm shouting you out. And I didn't want to forget. So Siri reminded me. She's like, hey, you got to call out Carter to shout him out. So Beezy, my man, go and get it. Go grind it out. Use the grit that you have inside of you to go and kill that exam today. And as I throw that to Carter, I throw it to Business Athlete Nation. If you're getting your day going, like Mike said, turn the news off. Go back to the beginning of our show. This is affirmation. This is positive. This is fun, right? Come tune into Keith C. Marty throughout the week. And I'm hopeful that the content we're giving you is going to be content that's going to move you forward in life. It wraps up our discussion today, guys, on grit. What a great chat. Mike, thanks for joining us in the lab today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Marty?
Hey, Mike, appreciate it. Great talk. Definitely learned some stuff. That's why I was, writing stuff down. Always want to get game from anyone I can on the show. So, but we'll be in touch. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, gentlemen, in keeping with our theme of January resolutions, we are going to continue the discussion around. Got a couple things going on, guys. We got later this week at the 5 a.m. Club, Marty. 5 a.m. Club. We also got how to build self-discipline. Mike, we got a former elite soldier from the United States military joining us for that conversation. And we also have self-discipline. We've got a couple other topics. So all week we are full with topics to help you guys achieve your January goals that you may have missed in January. So we're going to get out of here. Mike, you enjoy your day. And man, I really appreciate your support listening to our show and always tuning in and always engaging in the comments. Future, if you're still awake, pal, have an awesome day. I know that we always appreciate your joining in as well. Chris, thanks for joining in as well. Sarvina, thanks for joining in as well. And anybody else who's joined into our show today, very, very grateful. Keith and C. Marty cannot do this ourselves. The way that we're going to achieve our goals is with your help by creating great content and you guys listening to it. So we're going to get out of here, nation. Have a great one. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. All right. Have a good one.
Have a good one.